Hello, my name is Seonghee, and today I will be presenting a case study on H2O Open Casebook. Casebooks are textbooks used in law school comprised of case laws that are open in the public domain. However, these casebooks are a significant financial burden for law students. Most legal coursework is taught from casebooks that cost around $200 to $300 each, despite being comprised of case laws that are already in the public domain. H2O Open Casebook attempts to solve this issue. H2O is a free platform for making, sharing, and remixing casebooks online. Law professors can create casebooks through searching case laws available on the H2O search database, annotate books, and publish casebooks onto H2O. These casebooks will be available for free on H2O, allowing students to gain open access to these casebooks. Students can then read these digital casebooks online, annotate them, or export and print them to read in a physical copy. They can also add collaborations for study. One issue that the Harvard Library Innovation Lab was facing was understanding how law students were interacting with H2O. Law students spend many hours a day reading during their time in law school, so they are sensitive to the small specifics in book formatting, and in prior years, the project has received an anecdotal feedback that law students prefer digital casebooks to physical ones. So to understand these issues, we decided to conduct research on H2O's Open Casebook platform. Our three main research questions were: what factors influence student casebook format preferences, what types of digital reading interactions occur, and how can we design good digital casebooks that incorporate the various annotation systems of law students. We interviewed and surveyed a total of 21 law students. We contacted law students through email. In the virtual interview, we explored how law students would read, search, and annotate the digital H2O casebook. In the online survey, we asked more general questions about student preferences for reading casebooks. As we had anticipated, we received responses that casebooks were a significant financial burden to law students. Many students mentioned how expensive they were and how they wish they could access casebooks for free. The survey also revealed that a majority of law students tend to search for free online materials when looking for e-textbooks. We found that students tended to show a greater preference for digital casebooks, yet there were trade-offs between the two formats. The main reasons behind a stronger preference for digital casebooks included lighter weight, easy transportation of text, efficient search, and accessibility. Overall, while we found that digital casebooks tended to be lighter and easier to transport and search the text, they had limitations compared to physical casebooks. For students who had disability symptoms such as migraines or found reading on a computer to be very straining to the eyes. Additionally, students who wanted to do more free annotations found the limiting digital features on a digital casebook to not completely support their needs. Therefore, students mentioned that having an open license free casebook that was available online, but also available to print to a physical copy was what was most needed. Regarding student annotation patterns, students would initially start off by annotating the case, finding the main parts of the case, such as the parties holding evidence. After this initial step, students would then go on to prepare a case brief. Here, they would copy and paste parts of the text that were crucial into a summarization of the case. One student we interviewed was a first-year law student. She mentioned how she preferred physical casebooks because she used 9 different colors to annotate the text. After interacting with H2O through the virtual interview, she responded that she would use H2O directly on the platform, despite having a preference for physical casebooks. She chose H2O this way because she liked the idea of having a collection of her own cases that she could document through H2O. Additionally, the student mentioned that she would use the collaboration feature with her friends to collaborate on her notes. Another student we interviewed was a third-year law student. She tended to take very quick annotations using about 1 or 2 different colors to highlight the texts. Instead of highlighting, she also mentioned how she leaves markings such as the word H for holdings, E for evidence, and etc. Then she moves on to create case outlines on a Word document and mostly copies part of the text onto the document. With student B, we found that the most useful feature for her would be being able to export the annotations she made online to create quick case briefs for herself. She also mentioned that having more features in the casebook would allow for more specific search, such as filtering between sections, personal markups, and additional bookmarking of pages. After interacting with H2O in the virtual interview, we asked students how they saw themselves using H2O. A majority of the students responded they saw themselves using H2O directly on the platform. For the students who saw themselves reading H2O directly on the platform, that if the professor was adopting H2O as a teaching tool, it would be easier for them to annotate, highlight, and refer back to the direct notes that the professor made on the casebook. She mentioned that making casebooks accessible and affordable was a greater need for her than to have a physical casebook there. For those students who preferred reading H2O through the digitally exported version, mentioned that adopting a new annotation system on H2O was confusing for him. For the student who preferred using H2O in an exported and printed version, mentioned that if H2O had a more robust set of highlighting tools and annotations, she would see herself using H2O directly on the digital platform. Therefore, we landed on 3 main design considerations for H2O's casebook. First, we wanted to considering the reading patterns, the collaboration within casebooks, and personal annotation styles. Overall, we found that the design of casebooks should consider the reading patterns of law students. Most law students end up preparing casebook briefs at the end of their study process. A casebook that incorporates both the more complex style of annotation of first-year law students to the more focused and quick annotation style of upperclassmen would be crucial. Regarding collaboration on digital casebooks, we found that a lot of students tended to collaborate when learning in outlines that were passed down from upperclassmen to lowerclassmen, and how a lot of the case briefs would start from there. Regarding law students and annotations, one pattern we observed was how law students often had their own personal system of annotations. However, when law students tried to use these annotations on digital casebooks, they were often limited by the few features offered by the digital platform. Therefore, thinking of the more flexible annotation styles of law students would also be a key feature that would be needed in digital casebooks. Overall, we hope that these insights on digital reading in law school can contribute to creating better learning tools for the law school classroom. Thank you.